my vote, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the downloadable content that provided more fun and content than most modern titles in the gaming scene.
A god of war, god of pain, of suffering, of destruction.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
King of Cards, Shovel Knight. The pixelated perfection of Shovel Knight cannot be understated, and while its main campaign is a joy, getting to play as 3 of the villainous members of the Order of No Quarter in their own side stories was the cherry on top. Plague of Shadows and Spectre of Torment certainly had their own high points, but there's just something about the fluidity of playing as King Knight as you bounce around levels, fully embracing the platformer aspect. Also, Joustus came pretty close to becoming the second coming of Gwent. The delicious last course, Cuphead. We all remember the splendor of taking on this boss gauntlet, all painstakingly crafted to match the 1930s cartoon style that inspired it. Even the crazy difficulty didn't dampen our spirits on account that the creativity on display was just so overwhelming, a trend that would continue with the release of this hotly anticipated DLC. Needless to say, it ticked every box. Bosses continue to ruin us with their abundance of phases. The inclusion of Miss Chalice added a new dynamic to gameplay, and the visuals were so beautiful to behold, it likely had animation departments across the industry sweating. Phantom Liberty, Cyberpunk 2077.
I know about the bomb ticking in your head. If I could disarm it now, I would in a heartbeat. You'll feel better any second now.
Cyberpunk's launch may have been borderline disastrous, but its redemption tour led to one of the most kick-ass story expansions in all of sci-fi gaming. Swapping out corporate corruption for political thriller, though still with a crazy amount of gunplay, Phantom Liberty not only brought a dense and slick side story that threw V into the grinder, but also a serious overhaul to the game's core mechanics. Fine-tuning them to such an extent it felt like a brand new game. All for the better, might we add. Phantom Liberty will not only go down as a great DLC in of itself, but also a herald of Cyberpunk's return to glory.
So I heard. Is that why you strip yourself of your memories and store them in external databanks?
The Old Hunters, Bloodborne. From Software have a long and storied history when it comes to crafting exceptional DLC, and one of their most iconic and unforgiving is this blood-soaked journey through the Hunter's Nightmare. Some of the hardest bosses to ever grace the Soul genre can be found in this canopy of death, from Ludwig the Accursed to Lady Maria, and of course, the Orphan of Kos. And that's to say nothing of the monstrous enemies you'll encounter along the way. We still live in fear of the shark giants. The Shivering Isles, The Elder Scrolls IV, Oblivion. Skyrim may have indulged in its fair share of expansions, but for our buck, there's no beating the chaotic meanderings found in Sheogorath's world. Whisked away to the domain of the Daedric Prince, players were granted a whole new region to explore, all with the goal of taking up the throne and becoming the new Mad God. For its time, the number of quests, collectibles, and choices on offer was downright immense. Of course, the real highlight was getting to banter with Sheogorath himself, and revel in how much of a captivating lunatic he is.
Well, what a turn of events this is. It's new, and I like new, even if it's bad.
Left Behind, The Last of Us.
I haven't seen you, and I don't even know how long. 45 days? Well, 46, technically.
Not every piece of additional content needs to be balls to the wall and filled to the brim with bosses. Sometimes all you need is great characters and a nail-biting scenario, and few are sharper than Left Behind. Giving us additional context into Ellie's past, we learn of the relationship she had with her best friend / love interest Riley, and how she was bitten by a clicker, only to discover her immunity. The somber finale only hits because the DLC dedicates so much of its time to showcasing the girls having fun amidst the apocalypse, with an abandoned mall serving as their playground. It may not be an essential piece of storytelling, but the overarching narrative is all the richer for its addition.
Come on. Let's get out of here.
Citadel, Mass Effect 3.
Let someone else do the work for once. Back its orders. You're on shore leave.
Yeah, whether we like it or not.
I'm sure you'll manage.
It's a testament as to how endearing the crew of the Normandy have become when a subplot involving Shepard fighting against an evil clone is the least interesting aspect of this DLC. Set during shore leave before the final push against the Reapers, Citadel sees Shepard and his companions throw one last party, and it is incredible. Getting to play wingman for Garrus, watching Tali fail to hold her drink, the deepening of your chosen romance. The game even winks at the various memes that have sprung up over the course of the trilogy. It's funny, wholesome, and a love letter to fans of the Mass Effect series.
At least we threw one hell of a party. Probably the last one.
Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring. Whether you're for or against a DLC being nominated for Game of the Year, it's easy to understand why it was placed on such a perch to begin with. There are AAA games being released to this day that do not come close to the sheer amount and variety found in Shadow of the Erdtree. Not only are the number of new locations, weapons, armors, and enemies staggering in scope, but the quality is unprecedented. Builds have never been more epic, the additions to the lore had long-term fans salivating, while the creativity and unrelenting challenge of its bosses are still being talked about to this day. Like we said, From Software are the kings of DLC, and this is them firing on all cylinders.
Tarnished one. Aspiring lord of the old order. If you have known sin, if you grieve for this world.
Valhalla, God of War Ragnarok.
You are certain you remember nothing of this place?
Oh, nothing that would help us.
Usually a mainstream game adopting an alternate genre never extends beyond being gimmicky. At most, maybe a fun distraction. This is doubly true in a saturated space such as roguelikes. So for Valhalla to come along and blow apart the competition is nothing short of a Herculean achievement. It still boggles the mind that through the prism of a roguelite, not only did we get a highly addictive God of War experience with all the action we could want, but also some of the best character writing and performances in a video game ever. Oh, did we mention this was all completely free?
What can I say to you? I remember how it felt to take that throne. All that it meant. And all that it did not.
Blood and Wine, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt.
So fess up. What brings you such a long way?
We are to deliver Her Grace the Duchess's message in full, with all due ceremony. For tradition
is sacred in Toussaint. All right, fine.
What the base game did for raising the bar in regard to open worlds, Blood and Wine did for expansions. Geralt's hunt for the elusive vampire killing his way through the Duchy of Toussaint is overflowing with Witcher goodness. Monsters to hunt, political intrigue to contend with, a bombardment of morally grey characters who live or die by your choices. And of course, plenty of opportunity for Geralt to get his freak on. It's not only an exquisite gaming experience, but serves as the perfect conclusion for the White Wolf story. Raise a glass, because in this day and age, content like this is becoming all the rarer.
Seemed like a land straight out of a fairy tale back then. Its sole problem, cellar's too small to accommodate all that wine.
appearances, Geralt. Appearances, like Mamoons and Dopplers, deceive. So what did become of Vilgefortz?
Which DLC do you think is top tier? Let us know in the comments.